Today, we're going to get into the story of one nurse's incredible journey to answer her true calling. It's a story about motivation, about some seriously intense preparation, and about facing that one final massive test that stood in her way. And it all started with a single powerful feeling.
This right here, this is where it all began. This feeling was sparked by the 2017 tragedy in Las Vegas. For our author, Rossi Bell Auberly, watching nurses work around the clock just ignited something inside her. She basically made a vow that day to serve her community, and that set her on a path that would completely change her life. So here's what that path looked like. It all started with that calling back in 2017. Then came 16 super tough months of nursing school, which all led up to the final test, the NCLEX, before she could finally get out there as a registered nurse on the front line. Let's walk through each step of this journey.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning, with that powerful why that was the fuel for this entire thing.
That powerful why is what got her through 16 intense months of lectures, exams, clinicals, you name it. And after all that unbelievable hard work, Rosabelle finally earned her nursing degree, which is a huge deal. But, she quickly realized the race wasn't over. There was still one final challenge standing between her and actually being a practicing RN.
And that challenge is the National Council Licensure Examination, or as it's better known, the NCLEX. You can think of it as the final boss of nursing education.
So, what is this thing exactly? Well, this is not your typical test where you just memorize a bunch of facts. Nope. The NCLEX is designed to see if you can think critically and make solid nursing judgments when you're under pressure. It's basically the ultimate gatekeeper to the profession, making sure every new nurse is truly ready for the huge responsibility.
So, knowing what was at stake, she didn't just study, she created a strategy. This thing required a real honest-to-goodness battle plan to succeed.
Before you can even think about opening a book, there's all this paperwork and a whole series of steps you have to get through. The biggest takeaway here? Start this process super early, maybe even a couple of months before you graduate if you can. Seriously, any little delay here can push your test date back by a lot.
Okay, now this part is really smart. Her first test date was pretty far out, and she was worried about burning out before she even got there. So what did she do? She checked the testing website every single day looking for cancellations, and she snagged an opening just 3 weeks away. That really lit a fire under her. It was time to get serious, and having a focused plan was now absolutely critical.
And here's the absolute core of that plan. The goal every day was to get through 100 to 150 practice questions. That's a 3 to 4 hour commitment every single day. This wasn't about last-minute cramming. It was all about consistent, high-volume practice to build up that mental stamina.
But just doing a ton of questions isn't enough. The strategy was the real key. So yeah, she used a trusted review book, but the game changer was reading the rationale for every single question, even the ones she got right. This is where the real learning happens. It's not about just knowing the right answer. It's about deeply understanding why it's right and, just as important, why the other options are wrong. That's how you learn to think like the test thinks.
Now, this might be the most brilliant part of her whole strategy. After she hit her daily goal, she would completely switch off. The books were closed. The rest of the day was for self-care, for family, for friends. And this is so important. This wasn't a luxury. It was a core part of her plan to stop burnout in its tracks and stay sharp. So with all that preparation locked in, the focus shifts to the final 24 hours. This is all about managing your mind and conquering that exam day anxiety that is bound to show up. Her final approach was planned down to the hour. The day before the exam, absolutely no studying. It was all about doing happy things, seeing friends, and getting the logistics sorted out. Like prepping your ID and figuring out the route to the center. Then, the morning of, a light breakfast, get there early, and this is the best part. Use your personal stress relief technique. For her, that meant singing her favorite songs at the top of her lungs on the drive over. Hey, whatever works, right?
So, showing up at the testing center can feel a little intimidating, but it's a very standard, almost robotic process. You'll put your stuff in a locker, show your ID, they'll take your biometrics like a palm scan, and then a proctor will just walk you to your computer. Just knowing these steps ahead of time can really help calm the nerves.
And then you're there. You're sitting in the chair, staring at the screen. This is it. This is the moment. You just have to take that one deep breath, tell the doubt to take a hike, and just trust in all the hard work that got you there. You're ready. The exam just stops. The screen goes blank. The hard part is over. Or is it? Now comes the waiting game, which can be its own special kind of emotional roller coaster. So for the next few days, she just replayed every question over and over in her head. One minute, she'd feel totally confident, and the next, she was crippled with self-doubt. And I really want you to hear this part. This is completely 100% normal. If you've ever gone through something like this, you know that feeling. You are not alone.
A couple of very long days went by, and it was time. She logged into the website, heart pounding out of her chest, searched for her result, and saw one single word: pass.
And with that one word, everything changed. The whole journey, the sacrifice, the endless hours studying, it was all worth it. She was officially a registered nurse. The dream that started with that vow years earlier was now real.
This quote just brings everything home. From feeling helpless during a local tragedy to being on the front lines of a global pandemic. It's just a powerful, full-circle moment. It confirms that even though it's scary and it's challenging, this is exactly where she was always meant to be.
So what can we all learn from this incredible story? First, find your powerful why. That's what's going to keep you going. Then make a detailed plan. And remember to study smart, not just hard, by really understanding the logic. And so crucially, make self-care a priority to avoid burnout. And finally, when the moment arrives, you have to trust the work you put in.
You know, this story is about one nurse's path to the NCLEX, but the lessons here are universal. They apply to any huge challenge we decide to take on, which kind of leaves us with one final question to think about. What journey will you begin?